Hello friends, today I will teach you how to play the London system. It has gotten very popular opening at all level play for the last 5 to 10 years. White gets a super solid position without weaknesses with good pieces and a safe king. You can definitely add this into your opening repertoire and test if it's your cup of tea. So white starts the game with d4. Today we're going to look at the response d7 to d5. Bishop f4. We have the London system. So black's main move here is knight f6. We have e3 for white. And before we look at c5, let's look what happens if black plays e6 first and then opts for c5 when the pawn is there actually protected. So let's follow the natural developing of the moves. Knight to f3, c5. Black starts building the pressure on the d4 pawn. So for this reason, white plays c3. Now this is also for the purpose of bishop. In case c4 happens, we can actually retreat to c2 square. Black goes knight c6, white goes knight bd2, and black offers an exchange of the dark square bishops. Here, if we take on d6, this is also playable, and white could still make an argument that he has the good bishop of his, according to the pawn structure in the center, and white still remains a little bit better. However, we remain for the main theory here, and we play bishop g3. So the point being is that if black takes on g3, white can actually capture with the h pawn and claim the h file due to his activity of the rook on h1. So for this reason, black thinks, okay, I'm going to take that when white has castled, so that white wouldn't win the h file. So now black castles. We have bishop d3. Very important to put the bishop here so that we could attack the black's king. Black plays b6, starts solving his light square bishop problem, and now one of the most common ideas in the London is actually putting the knight on e5. We're not afraid of black building the pressure on the knight here, as because we have already the bishop on g3, we have the luxury of playing this move f4, and the knight is protected. So black plays bishop to b7, white still goes f4. And now we're gonna see how white achieves an attack if black doesn't know how to play this position with black. So say I'm going to show you a dream of white. So black is developing, say, the rook to c8. We could opt for queen f3 here, or we could also make a move bishop to h4. So here, if black plays a very bad move, say rook e8, and we achieve queen f3, and we lose another tempo for black, that's our dream. Combinations like bishop takes f6 and queen to takes h7, g4, g5, we could castle and bring the rook. That's the ideal world for white. Now, if black knows how to stop that, then he can equalize this position fairly, not too hard. However, I have to say that from practical point of view, I haven't met too many players that know how to react to this attack with black. They usually try to get the play on the c file, and they usually fail to the white succeeding in the kingside attack of blacks. So he has to stop the activity and impact of the bishop on the black's king, or specifically h7 square. That can be done with the knight being on e4. However, this is well protected by white, so black simply plays knight e7. So now if white says I'm going to castle, black already can play knight e4. And now once this bishop is not participating in the attack anymore, as you can see the bishop is also guarding the king, the knight, then white attacks fails. Again, if we play something like queen f3, already the knights are dropping, and if we take, black can capture with the pawn, and this diagonal cannot be used for the bishop no more. So white then plays queen f3 instead of castle. He thinks, okay, I'm putting simply one more attacker on e4, so you cannot bring the knight here. However, then black plays knight f5. And unfortunately, statistics are really hard on white here. Black is winning majority of the games. The bishop is attacked, can't go to h4 as well. Taking here would be not good because you just have exchanged your good bishop. So white plays bishop f2, and games follow as bishop e7. White tried g4, knight d6, and we still put the knight on e4. So for example, knight e4 and g5 and knight e4. And of course, white still tried to participate in the attack, but then black already manages to get his counterplay on the other side of the board. So for example, h5 and b4, and it's still a fight. From practical game, it looks like white has chances, But if with precise play, black actually turns out to be holding the upper hand here. Now, I'm not saying that you have to play with f4 here. Of course, we could also play, for example, castles. Queen c7, and we don't have to play this with knight to f4. There are many other moves that could be played here. One of them is being knight g4. You still have a solid position. You could also opt for taking on c6. You have no bad pieces and no weaknesses. So that's what London is all about. Easy development, more or less clear plan, and you always have all the pieces developed. Now, let's look what happens if black before play c6 plays pawn to c5. So here, the mainline theory follows like this. Knight c3, knight c6, and white plays knight d2. Why would we play knight d2 before we develop the kingside pieces? Well, it turns out that if we play knight f3, black has this annoying move queen b6. Alright, so now if I play queen c1, bishop f5, black looks simply better. So the main move to consider here is queen b3, and unfortunately here there is this very annoying move c4. Now if we take, this is simply so bad for black. White is unable to stop this break. Black will go b5, b4, put the bishop outside the pawn chain. Believe me, you don't want this with white. It's a torture. White has no active plan. So hard to play. So why not then retreat to c2? Well, black can play bishop f5. Well, doesn't that blunder a piece? No, because black will win the rook. So bishop, queen takes f5, queen takes b2, and a1 rook is lost. So that's a problem. So, however, how does knight d2 change things? Well, let's go for the same line. Queen b6, queen b3, c4. I play queen c2 now, and it's guarded. And if bishop f5, actually in the same line, the rook, it can be protected. We have this lecture of having b1 move, b1 square, and we could just go back queen b1. So that's one of the lines that we could be playing. Now if black is smart, then instead of queen b6, aha, you play knight d2, I will play bishop to f5. Then main move is queen b3, and here black would already play queen d7. And again, I just don't like this position, to be honest. c4, say queen d1, e6 with white. I simply don't like this position with white, because it seems like black is so solid and comfortable with everything. Not only that, usually the London system players who analyze the positions with the black pieces, they know this fairly well. So my tip is to follow the example of the Grishuk and actually take this pawn here. So now black is probably going to go knight c6, and he tries to play e5, hit the bishop and eat the pawn on c5. And then we play bishop b5. So now he's unable to play that due to this pin. And if he opts for e6, suddenly we realize that white can already start holding on to the pawn. Say a5, and I'm going to play c3. Say he unpins, and I play queen b3. And yes, black does have a compensation here, but from practical point of view, I feel like white is holding on to the pawn. If he manages to develop the pieces and castles, then he should be just a pawn up. Now, I have had this position many times. Now, Anand, the world champion, against Sasha Grishuk, played queen a5. So Grishuk played knight to c3, a6. Now, if he plays anything else, black is just super much worse. Say he plays a6, white is already playing a3. After bishop takes c5, we have b4. And it's so hard for black to win the pawn back. So he tries to unpin the knight as soon as possible. Now we're forced to take. And Grishuk played versus Anand 2 games. He played queen d4. Here's trying to protect the pawn. And Anand now played very super good moves. So e6, b4, queen a3, knight g to e2. And it turns out that black has this fantastic a5. Say b5, and he's winning the pawns back, and only God knows what is going on here, but it turns out that black has already managed to equalize. So instead of guarding that pawn, let's follow the example of Sasha Grishuk, play knight f3, and he won a beautiful game in 2015 against Anand. So say one of the moves that are possible is queen c5, now we can play knight to e5, say e6, and we simply castle. And we could follow the ideas of say knight a4 and c4, and again you have no bad pieces, offensive knight on e5, black is still undeveloped, white is simply better. So also the good thing is that these are untested waters, we have 10 or less games in these positions, whereas in the main line with this c3 and knight c6, we have thousands games in the database. Okay, so this is small repertoire for you already to play with white. I believe that just knowing what I showed you in this video is enough for you to test the London. There are not that many traps or no traps at all in the existence for black in this London system. I wish you success with that. Let me know in your comments how were the results. I think this is a very solid opening for any kind of level players, and it's must-known opening to play with black. Unless you play something like with knight f6 and king's Indians, Grunwalds, openings of that sort. So stay healthy, my friends, continue loving the game and play chess. See you in the next video.